lawyer Paul Gisheru's files in his son is the next ICC chief prosecutor. Okay, so quickly, there's a story here. Learners frustrated over school's placement mess, and of course, it has been, a widespread uproar among some of the parents and guardians. Say that you find that your child was somewhere, probably in eastern Kenya, and your child has been called in a school way inside the Nyanza province, Nyanza region or western part of Kenya. And I think the CS was deliberate on this move to delocalize and to strengthen schools from all, from students from all over the country. Because if you have students from Nairobi getting placements only in schools in Nairobi, then that is not a school. So according to the CES, that was the right move for him. So hundreds of 2020 Kenya Certificate of Primary Education candidates are confused after they were placed in secondary schools that they did not select. Some of them complained that they have been placed in day secondary schools outside their communities, which contravenes the government's directive on placing learners in day schools within a commuting distance. So how it's going to happen? And this is going to bring about now parents starting to reorganize and to how to take their students to different schools and schools of their choice. How it's going to work out? Let's just wait and see. So that story about Ruto and his Twitter into, going into a frenzy is also fleshed out in the Standard newspaper and all that. Jen, what do you have for us?
Now, when you mentioned the Gikoyo over there.
Yeah.
I came across a tweet this morning. Somebody just woke up and chose violence. Akisema ati Wakikuyu huchonga waru hata before ajue nini wanapika. Muta achana na sisi. Waru is life. Ndio maana waru na supu inaitangwa riparian.
I have a question. Would you please just repeat that statement?
Violence?
No. Would you please just repeat that statement?
Gani?
Yeah.
Si uchonga waru hata before tujue nini tunapika.
But it's
waru moto. Unadhani kwa nini watu tunangoa? Tumezoea kula waru moto. Unaona ukikulanga waru moto, you always chew with air in your mouth.
Yeah. But
even ndo inafaa.
Okay, I choose peace.
You choose peace, yes.
I choose peace.
Muachane na sisi na waru zetu.
I choose peace.
Waru na carrot. Guy. Alafu ongeze kaminji hapo.
Na kamande.
Basi.
It's delicious.
Let's look at what the government has to say in regards to what is happening in Nyanza and western regions. So up to 12 counties in western and Nyanza are staring at a possible lockdown following the sharp increase of COVID-19 infections that have been witnessed in the past few weeks. And this is a move that has been backed by a number of governors in the western region, the Nyanza and Western region, who are proposing a partial lockdown to just help contain the situation in this particular region. Which are these counties, you ask? These include Nandi, Kericho, Kisumu, Siaya, Vihiga, Kakamega, Busia, Bungoma, Migori, Homa Bay, Kisii, and Nyamira. Health experts have warned that the epicenter has shifted from Nairobi to the Lake Basin region. Now, speaking to this was the Lake Region Economic Bloc Advisory Committee Chair, who said that unless people in the region embrace behavioral change, there will be a continued spread of transmissions of the virus in the coming days, and the peak will only keep going higher and higher by the days. We also saw Matiang'i speaking to this, where he said, it is becoming absolutely necessary that we enhance the containment measures in Nyanza and partly Western Kenya. And following this, the National Emergency Response Committee on COVID-19 has been meeting regularly to discuss the way forward, and they are expected to give the way forward, and of course after consultations with His Excellency President Kenyatta in regards to the situation in Western and the Nyanza region. Victor.
All right. So there's a story there about Justin Muturi, that's the National Assembly Speaker, and he says that the newly crowned Mount Kenya region spokesman, that is Justin Muturi, is rallying support as he gears up for final endorsement by his Mount Kenya East backyard. On Saturday, Muturi met Mount Kenya East leaders of the Kenya National Union of Teachers and Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, that is KUPPET, just to affirm his support in that region. And he says that yesterday he said that he's not allied to UDA wing of the movement, as he is ready to take the mantle. Now, counties crack down on traders flouting new law. The regulations require traders to package Irish potatoes in bags not exceeding 50 kg as opposed to extended ones that weighs up to 200 kgs. That is also a story there worth reading. So there's a story there of the late Jacob Midio. He's been described as fierce debater in parliament, shrewd trader. The politician warned Raila and Oburu against attending a burial for their safety purposes. It has now emerged that he called ODM leader Raila Odinga to not to attend a burial in Siaya. Now, the story goes that former Gem MP Jacob Midio will be remembered for his business acumen and good debating skills. He was also considered a brave politician. The former MP, who was an avid defender of ODM leader Raila Odinga, recently warned the latter against attending funerals amid the COVID-19 pandemic. That's according to Oburu Odinga, who said that he spoke to Midio on Friday, who warned them against attending the burial of their uncle Peter Odima in Alego, Songa. Midio died on Monday. So that is a story that still fleshed out there for you to read. Of course, people have been celebrating Midio and the late businessman Chris Kirubi. All right. So this is another story of Form 1 selection puzzle. And it cannot be overemphasized that most of the students have now been put into a form of confusion, and parents have been put to reconsider their positions and the Form 1 selection on where they'll be taking their kids. So if you're a parent and you've been given that position in Form 1, then you better have it and run with it. Raila back in Coast amid region party talks, and there has been little political activity in the region after talks by Joho, Kingi and Mvurya collapsed, with the UDA taking advantage to recruit. And the area has been quiet as the factions allied to Governor Hassan Joho, that is of Mombasa, Amason Kingi of Kilifi and Salim Mvurya of Kwale County are said to have adopted a wait-and-see attitude before deciding the next course of action. Of course, Coast region has always been one of the determining kind of, people say that it's an ODM or an opposition stronghold. But how it's going to play out in 2022 is also a matter of wait-and-see attitude again. All right? They say that, according to Omar Mwinyi, who is the Changamu MP, they say that they lack a de facto leader to unite the region. The outcome of the 2022 politics at the coast will be determined by what happens at the national level and not the small talks people are having down there at the coast region. All right? So politics is already steaming up, and we are yet to see more. Politicians are gearing. And as I always say, for politicians, there is no time left. Jane, I don't know whether we have time left for in the headlines.
I don't think so. We have to wrap it up at that point. But we have so much more lined up for you, so you definitely don't want to miss out on that. Do stay with us. We catch a quick breather. Today we are taking chocolate at Okunywa Kahawa leo, but we will be back. Victor anakunywa uji. So stay with us. Sip your morning beverage. We'll be back after this.
Unachoma.
Wanda tuingia huko.
Bwana Motiso, Pikipiki yako ndio hii.
Uko shwani yangu?
Hii pikipiki ni unakumbuka uniekelea the lowest unique bid yako ilikuwa ngapi? 18 shillings. Na unajua kuendesha hii gari?
Kidogo.
Haya, kitoko yako shika helmet, kifungu yako, chomoka na mali yako.
Kujiunga na QuickBid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bid yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bid yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bid ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio hununua. QuickBid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
Next on.
Ndo unaambie kama mimi ndio nyumba kubwa, huyo mwingine nyumba ndogo, ama nyumba ndogo na mimi nyumba kubwa.
Wangu jamani, mimi sina nyumba ndogo wala banda la uani sina. Wajibikaji kitu gani? Kwa hivyo ni mbebe mgongoni.
Tosha, si kwa mjadalani hapa. Talaka unatoa hutoi?
Talaka stoi.
Nakuuliza tena, talaka unatoa hutoi?
The greatest rally in the world is back in Kenya. Catch all the action of WRC Safari Rally live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1 from 24th to 27th June. See the world's best drivers navigate their machines on Kenya's rough terrain at breakneck speeds. Experience the thrills, adrenaline, drama and excitement as man and machine do battle. Don't miss out. WRC Safari Rally, live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Now, just at 33 minutes past 7 a.m., it's definitely time for Entertainment Thursday. You know how it is. If it's Thursday, it's time for that Entertainment Thursday. And this morning, we try to look at something a bit different, not just the journeys, the struggles, although we'll touch on that a bit, but we'll also try to majorly focus on investing in the music business. What does it entail? How does someone need to do that? And on set this morning, I have a lovely lady, Pokomo Princess.
Good morning.
Mambo. How are you doing?
I'm fine.
Changamka. Pokomo Princess.
Yeah.
Why the name, by the way? Tuanzie tu hapo.
Yeah, because I'm a Pokomo.
Okay.
And also we Pokomos, we love to sing, but not most of us young girls have come out to show that we can sing. So I decided to come up with that name, Pokomo Princess.
Why is that? I mean, you're saying that you're a Pokomo, yes?
Yeah.
And you love to sing, so meaning art, entertaining is something that you have,
yeah.
Perhaps as a tribe or as a community, but we don't see much of that, especially, the kind of style of music that you do. Kwa nini?
Okay, because, okay, sorry, come again with that question.
We don't see a lot of, people, singing.
Yeah, that's why I came up with that name, because at least it has more meaning.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is it a way, it's a way to like show the world perhaps that at Assisi we exist.
And I also want to show my people too that they can come out, they can do it too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then perhaps maybe you can tell us, why is it so? Why don't we see a lot of people from your tribe or in that tribe really singing? Because I mean, that's why I was so interested in wanting to know why the name Pokomo Princess.
I think because most of us are just farmers, so we just like living in community and peaceful thing,
Okay.
So not all of them, they like being seen Okay, they sing. They have a lot of traditions that they do.
Just Pocomo Princess, just pause there a bit.
Yeah.
We are trying to get your, your visuals in just a short while, but this is what we'll be having a conversation around this morning, not just the music space in terms of the journeys and the challenges perhaps, but we'll also try to look at investing in the music business. What exactly does it entail? When someone talks about it's important and necessary to invest in this kind of business, what exactly do they mean? Because I mean, oftentimes I believe we've had the kind of conversation or artists perhaps saying that I feel like music is not quite paying for me as an artist. I feel like I've been in this business or in this game for a long while, but I'm not seeing it paying off as I would want as an artist. Some would say I've been here for like 10 years, 5 years, but I still quite haven't made strides. So what exactly usually is the problem? Is it a question of investing? Because again, it entails and takes a lot. And we talk about investing in the music business. It's not just in the aspect of finances or money. There's the capital. I mean, there's the social capital, which is in regards to the kind of people that you bring on board. These could be the producers, the directors thereof. There's the time as a form of investment in terms of as an artist. I mean, how long does it even take you to write a song? Is it just a question of, I had an idea and I decided to write a song, or you actually took your time to just write or compose, and then the creative process therein, that this also goes into that aspect of time as a form of capital. So this is just some of the things that we'll be focusing on in a short while with Pocomo Princess, even as we just try to get a bit of her journey and how it has been. Also remember that we can't forget the aspect of COVID-19, in as much as yes, there was an opening that was around May thereof. We still know the kind of challenges that most people in the entertainment space are facing, and not forgetting artists. This is simply because of the lack of shows and the aspect of not having crowds. And we know very well that a good number of artists rely heavily on shows, rely heavily on events, and we don't have quite that. So how have most of them been surviving? I also just checked out my guest and I realized that she was also on YouTube creating content here and there. So does it mean that musicians or artists as a whole, or those in the entertainment space, are getting more creative, looking for more creative ways to just make or eke a living, given that it's a difficult time? So those are just some of the aspects that we should also be trying to focus on. What exactly are they doing thereof as artists, as musicians all together, or even just as people in the entertainment space? Now we have you right back.
Thank you.
So we were saying, a bit earlier on, before I just gave our viewers a bit of a, idea of what we'll be talking about, trying to understand why don't we see people in your community, coming up, singing, being musicians, because you're doing well as an artist. I could say, I checked you out and I could say you're really doing well.
Thank
so why
you.
don't we see that? And you are trying to say that, you're mostly into farming. That's what you're used to perhaps as a community. So that could be a major factor.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I think also they are not much there are some who are exposed, but they are not much exposed. Yeah, we are.
Exposure, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
exposed. Yeah.
All right, so let's come now to the music bit. And I really just want us to touch so much today on investing.
Yeah.
Because the way I was saying earlier is that utapata wasanii wengi wanasema nimekuwa kwa game for almost 10 years, 5 years, na feel ni kama si make moves.
Yeah.
And some would say, basi naona muziki acha ikuwe tu kama side hustle. I have a main hustle, and then muziki ikijipa tu ni sawa. If not, okay, I tried. But let's talk a bit about investing.
Yeah.
And also, I want you to tell us from an artist's perspective. Tukisema investing, what exactly does it entail? Kama msanii.
Kama msanii.
Yeah.
Okay. Of course, you have to have financially supports, but also you have to put all your effort, all your energy, your dedication, and you also have to have focus. Yeah. And in music, for you to start to see a bit of change and more maybe generating, you have to be also consistent.
I like that bit, consistency, because
Yeah.
it looks like it's something that is sometimes
Yeah, because
always
before
lacking.
I wasn't consistent. I started, then I stopped, then. But since I started started being more consistent, I started seeing a bit of change. So
You started seeing at least results.
A bit of change.
A bit of
I'm
change.
still
You're still seeing results, but you at least began seeing a bit of change.
Yeah.
When you say that it's important to pump in your energy, you know, and also time, what does that really entail? Because I mean, also for these that would complain, they will say, I always put in energy. I mean, I'm always in studio. I'm always trying to record music.
Because I see difference in my songs that I made.
Yeah.
There are songs that I just go to the studio and I just write there and do the song within an hour or two. And there are songs that I take like weeks to write down and like a month to do everything to be perfect and then to do the video. So I see them, they all have difference. So you see the ones that you take more energy and everything you put in there, it becomes more perfect than the other one that you didn't give it much time. Yeah.
So it means that actually that is something to be considered, the aspect of time and energy that an artist puts into their craft. So then how is your creative process like as an artist? What goes into it? I mean, how do you come up with the kind of content you come up with, the kind of songs you come up with?
Okay, it's comes with through experience and also through all imagination. Yeah, I try to put myself in a certain situation sometimes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Through experience and certain situations.
Yeah.
So which one of your songs is as a result of the experience you've had, and which kind of experience is that?
Okay, I can say it's not my experience really. Sometimes you just take from experience and maybe you just turn it around. It's all about, I mean, playing with your mind. Yeah.
So it's not your own experience as a person.
Maybe somehow.
Which
I
mean,
can
tell
say
us.
exactly. Yeah.
You
Because
have several songs like you are rule, and there's another one with a tricky kind of name. Needs some.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, which kind of experiences? We would love to know.
Okay, like Nitsam, I was mostly showing off. Okay, the story is about being in love, getting married, but I was mostly showing how traditional marriages people in our culture, part of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's no song you've released which is as a result of your own experience.
No, I can't say that.
You can't say the experience.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So how would you describe your style of music?
I do mostly R&B, but my song, my new song is a bit of hip hop and R&B. Yeah.
So you change your styles here and there. Why?
Because I'm flexible in all sides. So every time I want to try a new style, and I also want to see. On my way of singing with different kind of style, which also I want to say my fans, which parts they love most. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's always again that aspect of a female in the music industry. Some would say it's really quite challenging. It could either be in gospel or secular, whichever way. They would say it's just not as easy being a female in the music space or even in the entertainment space as a whole. For you, how has it been so far?
Okay. Yeah, I can say it's not easy, but most of the time I don't want to believe in the word not easy. I just want to believe it's possible. I can do this.
I really want you to expound more a bit when you talk to us, because I want us to understand. I want our viewers to understand. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you tell us it's not easy, because I mean every artist has their own journey.
Yeah.
Every artist has their own way of doing things, their own struggles as well.
Yeah.
And I want to be very categorical when it comes to that female bit, because I mean it's something that we've had quite some. I mean, different times here and there. That's not easy for female artists.
Yeah.
So when you say it's not. Yes, that it's true, it may not be easy, but I want you to tell us from your perspective and what you've gone through as a female artist, what has been the most difficult part, and if it hasn't been difficult, what has been the most exciting part?
You know, in spite of the world changing, people changing habits, but we still have that thing that we Africans, ladies, are supposed to be in the front page, you know. So still back in our culture still is, we are just still in the down there, so people are still in that aspect, although people are still coming out. So also that part, it's not easy as an artist, and also we
culture,
yeah,
from your perspective.
Yeah, and also we have so many male artists whom are above us, so it's not so easy dealing with them. And yeah, but I always don't want to put the word not easy in me. Yeah.
Okay, so from your just picking from your story, what has been the one experience you've had and made you feel like, hey, by the way, I think I really want to quit music? A difficult time, a challenging experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, as before I was doing I was in church choir, but later when I dropped out of church choir, I felt like there's something that I'm really not doing. And sometimes
you were in the church choir before?
Yeah.
Okay, before you came
youth
to this
choir.
other side?
Before I I started singing, so I felt like there's something really I'm missing, And sometimes you feel a bit depressed. So one day I just tried. So I used to write some things down, but then I said, maybe I should combine all this and do try music. So that's when I started doing music. So the first time I did music, I felt like I lifted something out of me. So I felt so kind of happy, like I've really accomplished something. So that feeling made me feel like I think I should try more music.
Kambia watu wanataka experience. There's a viewer here saying, Kevin is saying, hapo kwa personal experiences, mgeni analenga na vile tuko curious. People want to know, your story as an artist.
Yeah.
But anyway, you're saying that you were in the choir.
Yeah.
Before you began singing the kind and style of music that you sing.
Yeah.
I mean, just from that statement, one would want to imagine that you actually do gospel kind of music, which is not quite the case.
No, but I do all music. I haven't specialized.
So you do gospel and secular?
Yeah, but in my YouTube I only have a Christmas song and all them are secular.
Wait, let's stick there a bit. You say you do gospel and secular at the same time.
Yeah.
How do your fans take that?
But I haven't done okay, the only gospel song that is in there is the Christmas song.
That is the only gospel song.
Yeah.
So it's not ati we unaimbanga tu muziki ya gospel. No, not quite. But then again, let's go back a bit. You are in choir, but then you decided to start singing secular.
Yeah.
I mean, what made you not, and this is not in any way judging, just wanting to know, what made you not sing gospel?
Okay, when you are in a church choir, there's that togetherness, and when you are a group of people, sometimes you share ideas, you give out suggestions, but sometimes you feel like, I don't feel like I'm really part of this group, so you just say, I better stay out of the group. Yeah, so that's what I felt. That's why I dropped out.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah. You didn't feel you were part of the group. You felt you wanted to do something of it.
Yeah, because I felt like there was no really togetherness in that group.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So is that what informs a lot of conversations surrounding perhaps gospel artists? Some would say that hakuna realness, wanaimba tu for, because they really want to look like, I'm a gospel artist. There's no realness.
I can't judge.
No, we're not judging, we're just having conversations. Nothing really.
I don't know.
And even actually later we'll be having gospel artists here and said, so they'll be telling us also their perspective.
In my part, in fact, I'm supposed to sing gospel.
And then?
But now, me as a writer, I can't specialize in just gospel. Okay. So that's the tricky part.
All right. Yeah. You want to diversify.
I'm a writer, yeah. So I can't just say I can just do gospel. It will be like punishing myself.
Process will be
yeah.
All right, let's talk a bit about your recent song. This is Rule.
Rule.
Tell us a bit about that.
Rule. This is special for women Yeah, it's a special song for women. And I want to tell, it's a message to tell them that in every aspect of life, we can rule, we can be leaders. So, yeah, we just have to be strong, yeah.
In every aspect
of life,
women can rule.
Women can rule.
Is it a thing that right now we are seeing, mostly people in the entertainment space, if one, especially for a female, if they get a chance, they just have to release something that is geared towards making women feel that they are strong enough. Women are...
Yeah, because women, we are strong.
Okay, that's interesting. All right, you also have, in your YouTube channel, I discovered, you also create content aside from just music.
Yeah.
There's one Cook with Binti Raquel in real-time show.
Yeah.
So does that mean that you do music at the same time, still trying to create more content? And is this because of, the inception of COVID that made artists try to diversify, or it's a thing you had in you? What is it?
Cooking, apart from music, cooking is my passion too.
Okay.
So I wanted to share different, most of the time I try new recipes, so I preferred also to share it on my YouTube channel. So maybe someone is not interested to listen to the music, they can go to my cooking.
You've clearly diversified.
Yeah.
All right, so what about collabos? Have you done any collabos, and if so, with which artists?
I've done with a collabo with an artist back in Malindi. Yeah.
What informs how you choose those you collaborate with? As in, is it their style of music? Is it just Nimsani amebobea, so why not? What exactly informs?
Their style of music. Of course, you'll see it if you rhyme, because you will listen to their music and say, oh, I will rhyme with this person. Yeah.
Quickly, as you wrap up, what next for you as an artist?
Next. Okay, right now it's a bit challenging, but I will be having another show in August. Hopefully, if the COVID is not going to affect it. Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, that's what we are hoping.
Okay, thank you so much, Pokamo Princess, for your time. Hata kama umekataa kutupatia experiences. But
maybe
still,
next time.
All right, cool. We still appreciate your time.
Thank you.
We are not yet done with the program. Plenty more on the other side of the break. Stay with us.
Timu nambari 1 ambayo naienzi zaidi ni Kariobangi Sharks. Swali ni je, mtazamaji, nini haswa nambari 1 kwako?
Bwana Motiso, pikipiki yako ndio hii. Uko shwani yangu. Hii pikipiki ni, unakumbuka uniekelea the lowest unique bid yako ilikuwa ngapi? 18 shillings. Na unajua kuendesha hii gari? Kidogo. Haya, kitoko yako shika helmet, kifungu yako chomoka na mali yako.
Kujiunga na QuickBid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bid yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bid yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bid ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio hununua. QuickBid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
Next on.
Wewe ushapata kazi, unasahau ulikotoka.
Mama namchukia.
Wewe ulikuja hapa kula ama ulikuja hapa kufanya kazi?
Nilipanga pesa mkuja hapa kwa nini? Kwa ofisi kushinda mmeongea about Arsenal.
Tushamaliza. Kwani ni wewe nini wewe?
Kwanza hapa hivi cheki. Hapa ni wapi? Hapa ni if you're in the office you work. When we are out there, sisi ni maarifu.
Yaani ulipokuja hapa kutaka kazi, nilikuwa nyuma kama nilionyeshewa. Lakini saizi uanza maringo.
that was Majibu, Mr. Nelson's latest song, which just means it's definitely time for our next conversation, still on Entertainment Thursday, but now we shift focus a bit. We look at the gospel space. Two guests on set this morning to help us understand a bit about the gospel music right now, the kind of space it is in, and that is Mr. Nelson. Good morning.
Morning too.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
We have to see you.
Mazee nimetoa.
Tukuone, si ndio?
Mazee watu wanione.
All right, and to the farthest right, that is Commando. You will be seeing all of them in just a short while. Right now, however, the kind of conversation we want to have is basically how the gospel space is shifting. Again, there's been a lot of conversations in regards to the kind of gospel music being released right now. Haina content sana. It's more about let's entertain. Let me make moves perhaps. Let me make money. And also we cannot forget how the award system came. When it came, I know we've had that conversation a bit with some artists, but we also want to hear their perspective, at least when the award system came. How did it shift the gospel space altogether? And why the gospel music has gone into this kind of space or this kind of box whereby it's just become more about entertaining and not so much about edifying. When you can compare how it was back then with how it is now, there's clearly a lot of difference, and a huge difference, so to speak. So that is what we'll be finding out from our guests this morning, even as we try to look a bit about their journeys, how it's been so far. Again, also a lot of conversations surrounding finances, never me. Some would say it's been difficult even just recording or producing music. So that is also what you'll be picking from them in a short while. Now I believe that you guys are ready. Muonekane sasa. Lazima tuone. Sisi tunaongea na watu wajui kina nani hao naongelesha. Yeah, there. So that is Mr. Nelson there, who's one of, and by the way, he has a very interesting story. Very interesting story. That is Mr. Nelson. Then to the farthest right, that is Commando. Nataka wakuone sasa. Exactly. Why that name, by the way?
That name came about it's because when I sang the first song, yesterday, Commando, then people started calling me Commando.
So I had to accept. Ni kulingana vile ambavyo watu walikuwa wanakuita.
Watu walianza kuniita Commando. Nikienda kuimba nasikia wacha tukaribishe Commando aimbe. Akasema kwa hivyo mnataka hii jina. Kachukua tu.
Kwa hivyo sema wewe ni watu walikupa hiyo jina.
Watu ndio walinipa hiyo Commando.
Na wewe uko na why not?
Nikaona si mbaya.
All right, Mr. Nelson,
yes.
You have a very interesting story. Just very briefly and very quickly, before we get to the music aspect, you are in a cult group.
It's true.
Able to tell me a bit about that?
Actually, we used to stay in Nakuru. My dad used to work in Nakuru, pale Egerton University, tulikuwa tunaishi place inaitwa Njoro. And I was in class 3, certain school inaitwa Township. Na unajua tao pia unajua kuna kwa competition inakuwa very high. The competition is iko high. Sasa my dad alipatwa na stroke, so we had to go back to Western. So when we went back to Western, there is a certain school I went in inaitwa Manani RC. So unajua nikiwa class 3 unajua competition ya Township was very high. So unajipata huko 120.
Sasa ni number kwa class.
Number class unajipata huko 130 huko. Then wakati nilirudi huko Western, I joined that primary school inaitwa Manani RC. Nikakuwa naanza kutop, imagine from class 4, number 1, class 5. Ani hiyo ndio ilikuwa ikifika. Unajua hiyo time walikuwa wanaitaga number 1, number 2, number 3. So wase walikuwa tu wanajua number 1 ni Nelson. Although sasa kwa hesabu nilikuwa nimechemshaga vibaya, lakini hizi zingine nilikuwa naeka rank. So I continue going to school, ikafika class 6. There's a time nilitoka chuo. I just came from school, nikasema my mother because now our dad was very sick. So my mother told me endo fetch water. Unajua huko kwetu kuna place inaitwaga inaluia wanaitaga S7, like you go there, we fetch water, unapeleka home. So me I just went at that place as a very innocent young boy. Me, I never knew anything. Nikaenda pale, I met a grandmother. Alikuwa amevaa garments za white amebeba poti ya black. Akanisalimia tu akaniambia wewe ni wetu. And because unajanga wase ma grandmother wazee washosho wetu wanakuwa unajuanga ni watu wanapenda fun, wanapenda kuchekesha watu. Sasa mimi nikajua huyu ni shosho maybe tu yenye tu anataka kunigotend whatever. So but when I went back kwa home jioni hiyo masaa after nimechota maji, I can tell you for sure ikifika jioni nilianza kusikia my body is itching, nasikia najikuna.
Just after
you after hiyo salamu naanza kujikuna whatever, everything ikakuwa ina sound weird. Even my mother akaniuliza what is happening, nikamwambia me I don't know. Then wase uchecking wanakaga hivi wanaona hizi movies za Nigeria whereby somebody umelala usiku, then the spirit of the body unacheki like unaamuka unaacha body. So wakati unaona the same place, hiyo sisi nikalala that night, but ikifika kitu saa 8 saa 9, that is how my body, ile spirit ikaamuka, then the body was left sleeping imelai kwa bed. Nikajipata the same place I met with that ule nyanya mali tulikutana na yeye that time. Ikifika usiku that place inageuzanga inakuwa like an altar, and it inakuwa like a red carpet. Ikiwa yani I don't know how they do just something, you place inakuwa like it's a church. So nikajipata niko katikati ya wale watu, na walikuwa watu 110. So wakati nimesimama pale, the same grandmother mwenye nilimcheki ile masaa akatokea kwa wale wasi akidance. Alafu wakati alikuwa na dance alikuwa na rungu fulani ilikuwa imechorwa a symbol of a snake. Akaanza kunigonga akiniambia, nilikwambia wewe ni wetu and you will be doing what we tell you, not what you kenye venye unataka. So all this you're feeling it ukiwa kwa hiyo iko kwa dream na sasa ni real, ile place niko. By the time ninaendelea hivyo akiendelea kudance hivyo, kukatokea very big snake actually, na ilikuwa imevalishwa ring. Napata aliana bow down, start licking that ring. Inamaanisha they have already initiated you in that cult, hiyo kwa cult. So by the time nilimaliza tu kufanya ile conversation ya kulick that ring, nikajipata sasa ni real life, mwili wangu umechoka, like umeshanika umepigwa vita ni hadi ujiwezi. Hata wakati nilijaribu kutoka kwa bed asubuhi nikaanguka chini. Hadi my mom, what is going on? Kamwambia, I don't know what is going on with me, but I can tell you for sure that is the same day my life ilibadilika. You see, and from there I can tell you for sure me I've been in a cult for quite a while. I lost one of my toe. I sacrificed one of my toe. I don't sinaga kidole kimoja by the way. And most of the time I don't share my story because I want ati watu feel like maybe ati wanihurumia. Hapana, because most of the young people are going through these things. Maybe hata misalanso nalitoka na kidole, uchunge sana usikatwe mkono. Unani get? Because keneni kuja kurealize kunanga kitu cha shetani utakula na uende for free. You will never eat anything from the devil and go for free. Because me, I can tell you for sure, being in that cultism, I've seen, nimekuja kurealize kuna watu wana mali, my friend. People have everything. But unapata hata mtu ako 40 years, ako 50 years, he has everything, but ni mwanaume, he's not getting married. Mwanamke ako na pesa, everything, but she's not married. Ukifuatilia mienendo unapata this person he's just worshiping the devil.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just such an heavy story, if I can say. Commando, you are really agreeing, especially when Mr. Nelson said, nothing you get from the devil is for free. Hakuna kitu ya bure ya shetani.
Hakuna, lazima utalipa.
Lazima utalipa. Okay. Now, wewe umekuwa kwa muziki since, is it 2008?
2008 ndio nilitoa album ya kwanza. Lakini pia nilikuwa kwa muziki for some time.
Okay. Hiyo ni such a long time. I mean, before 2008 na even 2008 mpaka saizi muziki imekuaje?
Imekuwa very challenging.
Okay.
Especially katika mambo ya airplay, katika mambo ya finance, imekuwa very challenging. Lakini Mungu amekuwa akisaidia. At least tunaendelea.
So when you wakati gani ulifika ukasema lakini kama mimi kama msanii acha tu ni give up? Lakini ukaendelea, which time was it? Ilikuwa wakati gani?
Kuna sometime katika usanii, unajua wakati niliresign kwa TSC, alafu nikaenda kwa huko Mombasa. Nikiwa pale nilikuja mke wangu akachukuliwa na mtu mwingine. So I was very much nilisikia nimefinyika sana. Yaani unajua hiyo kitu huwa ni mbaya sana. Lakini sasa nikanjipa moyo, nilikuwa nasikia hata kurudi nyuma kimuziki, lakini nikajipa moyo tu nikaendelea.
Kwa hivyo huo wakati ndio mke wako achukuliwa na mtu mwingine, ulikuwa ushaanza muziki?
Nilikuwa nishafanya sana hata music, alafu pia wakati COVID pia ikaja, hata ndio sababu nikaimba huu wimbo wa Nitachipuka Tena.
Nitachipuka Tena. Tuambie kiasi tu kuhusu huo wimbo.
Wa Nitachipuka Tena. Nitachipuka Tena, kila mmoja si anajua vile COVID ilikuja. Kwanza hiyo COVID tuseme wakati ilikuta niko katika hiyo state ya nimepoteza wife. Alafu sasa COVID ikaja, mimi nilikuwa nafanya kazi katika private sector kwa hizi shule, kwa sababu niliresign kwa TSC nikaenda kwa private. Sasa unajua kila kitu ilikuja ikawa hakuna shule, hakuna mambo ya classes. Kwanza nakumbuka ni huo wimbo wa Nitachipuka Tena ulikuja likiwa kanisani. Sasa hiyo naendelea kuomba Mungu at least hiyo mambo ya kwa sababu sio, nakumbuka vile vile CS wa education alikuwa anasema mambo ya 2020 will be a wasted year. Kwanza hiyo nikisikia hivyo nilikuwa nasikia inanifinya sana.
Inakufinya moyo kabisa.
Inanifinya kabisa kwa sababu saa hizo kila kitu kiko crippled, niko pale hauna mbele wala nyuma. Lakini Mungu akaja. Sasa wakati huo nikiwa katika that stage ndio Mungu akaniambia nitakuchipua, ni wakati wa kuchipua kanisa. So I was very much encouraged.
Okay. So it was based on what you were going through as a person, circumstances, na hizo zote.
Kabisa.
Okay, Mr. Nelson, let me come back to you. And right now, I want us to dive into, that conversation, especially surrounding the gospel music.
Yeah.
Kuna hiyo talk sana that saizi wasanii wa side, and actually it's very good we have both sides, you as a young artist perhaps and someone who's really who's been in the space for a very long time. Wanasema muziki ya sai, wasanii wa sai ni kuimba tu, wacha to entertain the masses, message baadaye, which is so different from how ilikuwa pale awali.
I can tell you for sure, and I think 100% I would support whatever umesema sai, because actually ukiangalia saizi gospel industry there's something wrong with it.
Okay.
But watu wataki kuambia na ukweli. I can tell you for sure. Because most of the young guys right now wameamua like hata they don't even pray. They don't have time for God. I can tell you for sure they just want to have the swaggers. To wake up in the morning ameimba sijui watu wanasikiaga Yesu mwisho. Unani get? Alafu kitu kije imekuja kuharibu pia, if you don't belong in a certain group of ka group fulani, and there's those guys who are up there. I'm telling you, hapa chini kuna artist wanaimba, my friend. Kuna artist wameitwa kufanya ministry.
Atujawa discover or what?
Mr. Nelson akiwa ndani maze. This guy can do ministry. But because if you decide to do things right in this gospel industry, they want to kill your dream, because there is someone meet to kwa interview somewhere. Akaniambia bro, we are doing business, we are in business. And hata ni mtu mbigi sana. Acha nikwambia hata sasa kumtaja Juneza mchomea. Una get? Ati sisi tuko kwa biashara. No, if you are in business now, a young artist who is coming up, struggle, alikuletea ngoma ya kwanza, ukasema hii ngoma is very poor, siwezi icheza. Struggle, amefanya ngoma ya 20,000, amefanya video ya 40,000, amekuletea song, bado namwambia I need 20,000 to play your music. That is nonsense. You see? Then you are not doing ministry, you are into business. And I can tell you for sure, what I came to realize, wakati God aliniokoa kutoka kwa cult, what I believe in, hakunaga shortcut kwa Mungu. You have to follow the right way. But most of these guys, let me tell you, they just want to do things because wanataka wakuwe na do, wanataka sijua kuwe na nini. But mimi najua 100%. Mimi am a testimony right now. Because there is a DJ anaitwa DJ Star. That guy is in Malindi. Yeye ndiye alinipick na akaniambia Nelson, ukitaka God akubless, hakuna shortcut. Ni kutumia the right way. You see? Now I can tell you for sure, we need to revisit. People must go back to where it started. But wase wanafanya, they are doing things for likes and views. And no anata mtu aokoki juu ya kitu unafanya, una get. So hata God akikuja saizi utamwambia nini? Amekupatia chance but you are wasting the chance. Amekupatia, let me tell you something. If God amekupatia certain platform right now and you are using that platform in a bad way, Mungu atakutoa tu na ateka mtu mwingine. Na hiyo ndio kitu tunaomba. Tunataka Mungu achipue ma DJ wapya wenye watafanya ministry, ma artist wapya wenye watafanya ministry. Yani we want things to and hata sometimes tunaweza kwa tuna blame church. Although pia church is also responsible, because unajua acha nikwambie pia church inafaa iamuke na ikuwe na sound. Iseme unajua church iko na nguvu. Iko na nguvu sana. Na wao ndio wanaweza kuomesha hizi vitu zote zenye because unajua pia unapata church zingine zimeachilia these boys are doing entertainment in the name of they get money wakuja wapatie tithe. And get.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right, Commando.
Yes.
Actually, let me pick your mind on the same. Wewe umeanza muziki from way back 2007 2008, we are now in 2021, na hii ndio wakati ambao tunasikia kwamba muziki wa gospel ina change sana. Mtazamo wako ni upi?
Muziki wa gospel hapo awali ulikuwa yale watu walikuwa committed, lakini saa hii unaona saa hii kwa sababu ya the new move kumekuwa na shida katika gospel industry.
Kumekuwa na shida katika gospel industry. Is it because of commitment pekee venye unasema, ama kuna jambo jingine?
Ni kwa commitment, ni lack of commitment. Unaona kama for example saa hii mtu anataka tu atoe wimbo anja omba, mtu anataka tu atoe wimbo anja soma neno. That is the problem. Kwa hivyo pia kanisa inastahili pia itusaidie katika kama wasanii, ili at least tuwe katika the right channel. Katika the right channel, katika right focus.
Kanisa inafaa ingilie wapi haswa? Because watu wengi utapata wanasema tunataka kanisa ingilie kati, tunataka kanisa iweke msimamo wao, but kanisa inafaa ingilie wapi haswa?
It is very simple. Kama mtu aueleweki, si utapewa chance kwa church. Lakini sasa unaona tu mtu aueleweki na anapewa chance. Sinamaanisha tu anaendelea. Alafu pia hata nyinyi media industry pia mnaweza kutusaidia. Kwa sababu for example huko Mombasa kuna waimbaji wengi sana wazuri. Kwa hivyo kama mnaweza ku make efforts za ku discover hao watu. Kuna by the way usione kama waimbaji wote si ati waimbaji wote ndio wameera. Kuna waimbaji wako katika focus wanaimba. For example kama mimi saa hii nikitengeneza wimbo, I have to take time, I have to pray, I have to fast. Lakini unaona sasa kuna mtu anataka tu kuingia tu shortcut. Alafu sasa unakuta yeye kwanza ndio anapigiwa makofi sana.
Ule wa shortcut. Okay, Mr. Nassau, you said something that this artist that you met, and we won't say them because it's also not good to to pinpoint names. But one would argue, in as much as I want to do music, for the purpose of ministry and message, the business aspect also can't quite miss, because I mean at the end of the day, what am I supposed to be eating?
It's okay for me. Mimi si mbaya juu hata ukinicheki sahi ni blessings of God.
Okay.
Unacheki? Ndio nakwambia, if you focus, I can tell you for sure, me have guys who are supporting me. Hata sometimes naenda kudozi hivi nja. Niko na wase wana Nelson, how uko aje? Umekula nini leo? Unani get? Una get? Wananiuliza umekula nini leo? So wacha nikwambie, the problem that inafaa tukue tunaisort out right now ni watu wafuate neno. Unani get? Watu wafuate neno. Ukishafuata word, ndio nimekwambia what I came to believe, ama nimekuja kurealize as Mr. Nelson, God never created Mr. Nelson to be a successful failure.
Okay.
I'll be only a successful failure if I don't follow the right ways of what the word is talking about. You see, because the Bible inatuambia kwamba if you commit yourself to what I've called you to do, then I will make sure ataamurisha watu watakusupport. Unani get? But ukiamua kufanya vitu shortcut, let me tell you something, my sister. Me, I don't believe in likes, I don't believe in views, I believe in bringing the souls to Christ. And I can tell you for sure, before the COVID-19 came last year, I had more than 100 schools I was supposed to go and minister there. You see? Na ni kufuata word. Unani get? So what I can tell you for sure, na tena kuna kitu kingine nataka kuguzia even about the church.
Okay.
The church also ndio nimekwambia inafaa pia ikuwe responsible, because acha nikwambia, if you cannot be kama huwezi kuwa appreciated place unaenda kuserve my friend, then uko nje utakuwa appreciated. It must start from the church. And I guess kwa nini ndio unapata most of these young boys unaamka kesho asubuhi, the boy was doing gospel music, kesho ameruka anafanya secular music. Because I've seen that a lot. And ninakuja najiuliza what is happening. Maybe the church pia wamekaa tu. The church inataka kubuild church ya 2 billion my friend. Na sio msanii hata maybe nimetembea nikitoka kwa hao nimetembea mguu nikikuja show. Unaniget? Okay. Unanitanga tu msanii. We have many preachers who can preach very well, but they cannot do the word. Unaniget? Yeah. So and also maybe wao ndio wanafanya even these young guys wanna give up with everything. Unaget? But now the church must make sure things are wacha nikwambie, ndio naona nimefanya song inaitwa Majibu Mazee. Msanii atakula imani bana. Msanii lazima aende na baraka at the end of the day. But it's not a part ati ni mimi wacha nikwambie, if somebody ananiita sahi kwa church ama niite wapi, I don't ask him atutanilipa pesa ngapi.
Why not? You're going to perform.
No, let me tell you something. Ina depend. Unaniget? Unaweza enda ukamwambia mtu I need 50,000. Kumbe this guy wanted to give you 1 million. You see?
So you wait for the person to decide on your behalf.
Yeah, hata si ku decide. Ni kumuuliza, okay, I'm coming.
Yeah.
This and this and this and this and this now. Then unaniget? But ukianza kusema niaje pasi mimi kama hujanipatia 100k mazee mimi siwezi kuja kwa hiyo church. You forget, sasa ndio nakwambia you have already forgotten what ile kitu God alikuita kufanya. Because unaweza enda uminister hata maybe ule pasi asema atakupatia, kumbe kuna mtu unaenda kuminister kwa ile place unaenda iko umeenda event, umeenda wapi, umeenda kila kitu ndio reva. Upate kumbe God ameka mtu wa Range Rover yako amekaa tu pale anakungoja, anakuangalia. And I can tell you that because me I've seen God transform. Mimi I used to stay in a single room for 4,000 but I could not even afford to pay that.
Na ulikuwa msanii.
Na nilikuwa ndio nakwambia sasa na nilikuwa msanii. But me I thank God because najua nakwambia ukikuwa patient, ukifanya vitu kingoja God, nakwambia God anaweza. Mimi wacha nikwambie tulienda kufanya ministry huko Malindi and I thank God for Pastor Search Malindi nini huko Malindi. Huyo pasi alikuwa na Twitter. Na sometimes anatambia buda mazee kujeni mfanye huduma mazee, mimi nitawapea food. Mwenda mpige road show mazee. Tunaenda kupiga road show, mimi sikuwa najua ule jamani endesha truck ndio atakuwa manager wangu.
Okay, fine. So let's get this straight. So Plesia Church is not just about support with the word and everything. It's also about understanding. Okay.
Unaniget, lazima wa understand. Because if you are not appreciated where you come from, I can tell you for sure, mtu mwingine wa hapo nje hata ku appreciate. Ni kama saizi. If I have a wife or I have a girlfriend who cannot appreciate me, then ule mwenye ako nje atani appreciate aje. You see? Itawezekana.
Aliko bana amesema itawezekana. So then Commander, from you inamaanisha we really need to do more because tunaweza kaa tukisema unajua wasanii wa saizi hakuna message, muziki ni about entertainment, but we need to do more. Okay.
We need to do more.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Now let me come back to you, Nelson, and then again, this is slightly about the award system. I had said earlier that we've had this conversation at least with different gospel artists, but I always like to pick the different minds of different artists. Because when the award system came, these are the likes of Kina Groove and the various award systems that came. It was good because the way we are saying, ni muhimu ku appreciate wasanii.
Ni kweli.
Hata not just kwa church, but even outside, at least by the way,
there's something.
Now appreciate your craft. But some would say, when the award system came, most, especially gospel artists, began singing for the award and not the word anymore.
Ni kweli. Hapo ni kweli. Hata let me tell you something. Hizi hata awards.
So you agree with what they
in fact, I agree because hizi awards zimekuja siku hizi wana kunominate then wanakuambia ni aje. Tunataka utume 10k kupiga award. Unacheki?
Oh, wow, it's interesting.
Lazima kuna vitu zinafanywa huko chini. I can tell you for sure. Mimi place nilitoka or where I came from, kuna vitu mimi zinishtui. You see, let me tell you like right now. You know me, I've been having friends. I have DJs who are my friends. We have been talking here and wherever. You know me, I don't belong in any group yet. What. Me, I only have my boss. And I have my boss, my friends, and whatever. So we always talk. When you just drop a song, let me now tell you something. Vitu zenye ziko zinachezwa hapa, zenye watu wataki kuongelea. Wana complain. Kuna kamchezo kanachezwa. Ndio unaona, ndio nakwambia artist mgani saizi amechipuka tu like before wenye walikuwa hakuna jina lingine nimekuja kuiona ati imekuja hapo juu, because I can tell unaweza watch hivi show, hata show ya Sunday ama siku fulani uone the only artist anachezwa ni ule msanii big, anachezwa kwa seti yote. Na sasa umetoa song na ni rafiki yako unamtumia song, naambia hata you call him before 2 weeks before, mwambie natoa ngoma. I can tell you for sure hata kuna wengine nitoa ngoma wanani blue tick tu, na blue tick, but whatever they are playing on that show hakuna content. Unani get? They want to vibe tu na hizo maku na hakuna kitu yote. So ndio nakwambia there's something that inachezwa hapa chini yenye watu wataki kuongelea. And I can tell you for sure hata hizi shows kama za Sunday, hizi show big wakati unaleta ule artist the gospel shows, wakati unaleta ule artist big kwa hiyo show, why can't you bring a small artist kenye kanaanza ukapatia hata 7 minutes aseme tu naitwa Nelson. Yeah, naitwa Nelson.
This is why KBC Channel 1 is here.
Yeah, unacheki useme naitwa Nelson, aseme tu naitwa Nelson. Hakuna, but what they are playing hakuna content, hakuna for real. Wanataka kucheza wale wasanii walikuwa wanakuaga tu pale. Wanakuaga tu pale. Okay. And if you don't, me I'm telling you I'm so mad right now.
The gospel space is frustrating.
It's frustrating. Na wacha nikwambie, na mimi nasemaga God wao ndio ameniita kwa ministry. Okay. As long as nimetoa song yangu niweke pale YouTube, nitumie marafiki zangu wenye najua wa share, waicheze, wafanye nini, I don't mind, because I know one day those people, na naambia hata msanii unanicheki sasa bro, acha nikwambie, don't give up. Watakublutik leo, wakublutik kesho, next time wao ndo watakuwa nakupigia simu, my friend. Work hard, keep moving, keep pushing. The more you push, the more God anaonyenyewe umse anajituma. Unani get? Because let me tell you something, only God can use only one door. Naweza kutuniki niko hapa KBC, my friend, ustukie kumbe kuna. Na hata by then nilikuwa nataka hadi niambie nani Dr. Ezekiel Mutua maze, ile pesa withdraw kupatia huyo msee hiyo 200,000 maze, su nijenge hiyo pesa bane nifanye huduma tafadhali. I hope hii message itakufikia. Nataka unijenge hiyo 200,000 juu niko na mashida kibao sasa zinaniandama. Hadi sijui rent ya hii mwezi nitalipa aje. Ezekiel Mutua, fanya makekes baba.
Kama na watch amekusikia. Okay, Commander, let me come to you.
Yes.
Na nataka pia nipate mtazamo wako wa hiyo award system na the word, because nye tunasema awards ni mzuri. Juu ukitunukiwa hiyo zawadi inaonyesha nime appreciate what you're doing. Kama ni muziki umerelease video umetoa, naona nyewe we are appreciating. Lakini ilifika wakati gani ambapo wasanii ama ilifika wakati gani ambapo kulikuwa na hiyo mtazamo watu wanaimba just to get the award, na mtu akasahau the word, the Bible, the praying and everything?
Unajua award system sio mbaya, na vile pia ilianza ilikuwa sawa. Lakini sasa wakati watu walikuja wakaingia katika ule mtazamo wa kama competition, sasa that is where we lost the focus.
Okay.
Kwa sababu watu wakaanza badala ya kuimba kama ministry, unaimba kama ili upate award, of which inastahili kuwa ufanye ministry, na katika ile process ya kufanya ministry unapata award.
So if I quite the other way around.
Istahili kuwa the other way around.
Okay. Ni wewe kwanza fanya ministry alafu sasa award kuje.
Kwa sababu Mungu anasema tutafute ufalme wake kwanza.
Okay.
Na yale mengine tutaongezewa. Lakini sasa unajua ukianza sasa kutafuta yale mengine, sasa Mungu ako na shida na wewe.
Kwa hivyo sasa tuseme ni kama ilifika wakati ambapo tumeanza kutafuta yale mengine, alafu Mungu akuje baadaye.
Alafu pia katika hizi award system pia waangalie watu wana award, waangalie pia iwe hata yule mtu amepewa award watu wanaona anastahili. Isiwe tu kuna maswali. Si vizuri.
Hiyo ni kaive kutouch.
Amen touch maze. Maze amen touch.
Kuna watu wanapewa. Watu wanapewa mnakuwa na maswali sana. Lakini kuna wengine utaona mtu amepewa nasema hata mimi hapo nimepiga makofi.
I support that 100%. Okay. Jiwacha, let me tell you something. Mimi there is a award niliwin ilikuwa 2019. Yeah, I never knew nienda kupewa award. I never knew about it because waliniambia, Nelson umework hard sana mazee, wacha tukupatie kitu. So I was given, nilipatwa like hard working artist of the year 2019. Unani get? Inaitwa BOG Awards, and I thank God for, na hiyo ndio ilinifungua macho nikasema I will never do ministry because I need to win an award. Ama ati wase wajue ati Miss Nelson anatamba, hapana. It is not like that. I can tell you for sure. So for me, I think it's a higher time we as gospel artists na kitu ingine, we need to love each other. Because wacha nikwambia, kama kuna mahali kuna wivu ni kwa hiyo part ya gospel. My friend, a lot of things. Mimi nakwambia, I don't know what is, ndo nasikianga the children of the world, they are very wise than we who are in the kingdom of God. And I ask myself why? Because we sisi ndo tunafaa tukuwe tunakuwa number one.
We're supposed to be the light.
There, sisi ndo tunafaa tukuwe tunalidia wase. But tunakwambia ile wivu iko hapa. Mimi nakwambia, hey, I think I will just write a book about this story or what, because a lot of things are under zimekuwa hapa kwa kiti hapa, zinalaliwa hapa chini. Watu wako hapa, but kuna vitu ziko hapa chini. But for me, I thank God. Actually, at the end of the day, I thank God for what He's doing in my life. And as I told you, God has been faithful in my life. I've seen God doing a lot of things in my life. Hadi imefika place I've worked with my pastor from ROG River of God. I thank God for Pastor Edgar, anaitwa Askofu, and also I thank my Pastor Tony. I thank my bishop, anaitwa Bishop Matthew, who discovered me. Wamenishika mkono. And I have friends. Hata najua nikisipowaambia na wananisaidianga, nikitoka hapa naweza enda nilale njaa leo. Acha nikwambia, I want to say thank you to mhudumu.
We want to wrap.
Yeah, before we wrap up, acha tu niwa big up. I want to say hi to mhudumu. I want to say hi to Madam Robina Mora, anafanya pale kazi commodities. I want to say big thanks to my manager, Mr. Murefu. Big up sana.
We have to pay bills.
Yeah.
Najua amesikia wale wote.
Wamesikia kabisa.
Wamesikia kabisa. But thank you so much, gentlemen, at least for making time and making us understand what exactly is ailing the gospel industry. From your generation, Commando, to your generation, at least now we have an understanding. To complain, tunajua why we are complaining.
It's true.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that is where we bring Entertainment Thursday to a close. But I leave you with Commando's latest song as we gear up for the next segment of the day.
So what is my number one favorite football team? Ingwe. My number one meal? Engoho Nendevusuma. What is your number one?
Bwana Motiso, pikipiki yako ndio hii. Uko shwani yangu. Hii pikipiki ni, unakumbuka uniekelea the lowest unique bid yako ilikuwa ngapi? 18 shillings. Na unajua kuendesha hii gari? Kidogo. Haya, kitoko yako shika helmet, kifungu yako chomoka na mali yako.
Kujiunga na QuickBid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bid yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bid yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bid ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio hununua. QuickBid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
The greatest rally in the world is back in Kenya. Catch all the action of WRC Safari Rally live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1 from 24th to 27th June. See the world's best drivers navigate their machines on Kenya's rough terrain at breakneck speeds. Experience the thrills, adrenaline, drama and excitement as man and machine do battle. Don't miss out. WRC Safari Rally, live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
I have already apologized. How many times do you want me to say that I am sorry? Is 5 times not enough? And by the way, what is he even doing here?
These are your students? How can you allow him to talk to you like that? Who are you doing him for? Teacher, what is happening here?
I can already see the beginning of the end.
Kijana,
just imagine you're a robber. How do you do it?
I am not a robber, neither do I plan to imagine being one.
Take back your notes. You can stay with your students and your sick school.
Wait, can't we talk about this?
Teacher, you know the lesson ended 5 minutes ago. Excuse me.
Classmates, every Saturday on KBC.
Watoto wafanya kazi nao walikufa, kapatwa na vidonda, mateso mengi sana. Mwishowe Mungu wetu kamlipa maradufu. Ayubu alipoteza mali yake yote, watoto wafanya kazi nao walikufa, kapatwa na vidonda, mateso mengi sana. Mwishowe Mungu wetu kamlipa maradufu. Simama tena, najipa moyo, sirudi nyuma. Yesu yu pande wangu, nitachipuka tena. Utachipuka tena, harufu ya maji. Utachipuka tena, nawe utachipuka tena. Madeni yamekusonga, magonjwa umekosa kazi, shida za ndoa umekosa mtoto, ungumu wa maisha umefika mwisho, hauna amani tena mpendwa, jipe moyo. Madeni yamekusonga, magonjwa umekosa kazi, shida za ndoa umekosa mtoto, ungumu wa maisha umefika mwisho, hauna amani tena mpendwa, jipe moyo. Simama tena, simama, mimi najipa moyo. Yesu yu upande wangu, nitachipuka tena. Nitachipuka tena, nasonga mbele. Utasonga mbele. Utachipuka tena, na utachipuka tena. Kilio cha dumu siku, asubuhi ni furaha. Mapito yako ya leo ni ushuhuda kesho. Kukosa kwako kwa leo ni kupata kesho. Japo mti umekatwa, utachipuka tena. Kilio cha dumu siku, asubuhi ni furaha. Mapito yako ya leo ni ushuhuda kesho. Kukosa kwako kwa leo ni kupata kesho. Japo mti umekatwa, utachipuka tena. Mimi najipa moyo, sirudi nyuma. Yesu yu upande wangu, nitachipuka tena. Nitachipuka tena. Utachipuka tena, nawe utachipuka tena. Mimi nitasimama tena, najipa moyo. Yesu yu upande wangu, nitachipuka
Welcome back. We are glad that you are still with us. This still remains to be Good Morning Kenya. My name is Jane Wamboy. Remember, you can always interact with us. Let us know where you're watching us from and how you are also enjoying the show. And you can do so on our Twitter platform. The hashtag is Good Morning Kenya at KBC Channel 1. Ever remains to be the official station handle. My handle is at Jane Wamboy across all the social media platforms. So now we move from entertainment and focus on matters affecting us as a people and the society as a whole. And this is all about conversations around people living with HIV and AIDS. Now, this is a part of the community that for the longest time has been stigmatized and segregated for one reason or the other, and particularly those who are living in the slum setup. But what are we doing as a people to make sure that we are also empowering them to be able to live decent lives and sustain themselves economically? That is what we want to talk about today. And to help me with this conversation, I have two ladies with me on set today. The lady to my immediate left, she is Mary Modhoni Wanderi, who is the project coordinator at Living Positive Kenya. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning.
Karibu sana Good Morning Kenya.
Yeah, thank you to have me.
Tunashukuru sana. And we also have Hannah Wamboy, who is a community health worker. Habari asubuhi, Hannah.
Nzuri sana.
Karibu sana KBC.
Asante.
Tunashukuru that you made time to be with us today. So let me start with you, Mary. You know, when we talk about Living Positive Kenya as an organization, inahusu nini specifically? What mambo yipi you usually handle?
Yeah, Living Positive is a community program. It's a CBO. We are in Go, and we work with women that are HIV positive and that are also living in the slum. So as much as we are talking about it being a program for HIV, it's more about women.
Yes.
It is more about poverty, and it's more about just women struggling with issues of health and poverty together. And that is what Living Positive is all about. It's what we are trying to address.
Ilikuwa established how long ago? Did you come together as a community and decided to put together this organization?
Yeah, Living Positive came together about 12 years ago. It came together because I felt as a person who founded it that there was a need. There was a need to address issues of women that were mothers. I was a children's worker, and I felt as much as you want to support children, you want to support children through their own mothers. I had experienced the issue of being brought up by a single mom, and I knew mothers, given the opportunity, given the empowerment, they are able to take care of their children. And that is wonderful. The love of a mother cannot be replaced by an institution. It cannot be replaced by anything else. What you get, the encouragement, the growth your mom can give you, you can't get it anywhere else. And I felt what better way to support children than to support the mother to be strong entity. And for these children that I was working with then were children mainly who were coming from families of mothers that had been stigmatized, that had given up on their lives. They wanted to be in their houses, they wanted to die. All they were coming to us is to handle them to us as a children's institution to take over when they die. And I felt, wow, there's something being done. The government is doing so much in terms of ARVs. Why can't these mothers come together, find out how they can take ARVs, get better, and take up their responsibility? And that is the background, and that is how Living Positive was started.
I love it.
Yes.
Let me come to you, Hannah Wamboy. You know, when was the first time uli get kujua mambo kuhusu Living Positive Kenya?
Nilijua kuhusu Living Positive in 2007.
na nilikuwa mgonjwa kabisa, nilikuwa bedridden. Na ndio nikaambiwa na mama rafiki yangu ati kuna organization inaitwa Living Positive Kenya. Ndio akanituma huko. Although kunituma huko kulikuwa na stigma, ilikuwa juu sana.
I can imagine.
Na kila mtu hakutaka kunikaribia kwa sababu bwana yangu alikuwa ameaga. Na sasa watu walikuwa wanaona wote nitawabukiza virusi.
Na experience yako ilikuwa ipi huyo wakati uliambiwa kuhusu Living Positive Kenya, ukaamua kwenda kuwatembelea? In as much as kuna hii mambo yote watu wanaweza kuwa wakikuavoid, wanakuita majina zenye hazifai, but experience yako ulipofika Living Positive Kenya ilikuwa vipi?
Nilipofika Living Positive Kenya nilikaribishwa vizuri sana. Na nikaenda through counseling ambao sasa nilianza kujipenda. Kwa sababu ilikuwa shida mingi sana, ama maisha ilikuwa magumu sana. Kwa sababu nilikuwa mgonjwa, singeweza kujifanyia kazi yoyote. Na singeweza kupata chakula ama kitu yoyote. Na Living Positive wakaanza kunisupport nikiwa bedridden client. Na mwishowe sasa wakanipea motisha ya kuwa naweza kufanya kazi. Na ndio nikapata shirika lilikuwa linaitwa USAID. Wakanipeleka training kama community health worker. Ndio nikapata sasa ujuzi, kwa sababu nilikuwa naambia Mungu, ukinitoa tu kwa hii kitanda nitaweza kuhudumia wenzangu wenye wako chini kama mimi. Na Mungu naye anajibu maombi kwa vile alinifanyia tu hivyo.
Absolutely. Now let me come back to you, Mary. You know, she's just one of the many people that I'm sure you get to interact with kila siku, and especially going back to when you were starting, when, you know, conversations around HIV and AIDS were still heavily stigmatized. How were you able to venture into this space and be able to reach out to all the ladies and also men who are willing to show up that have been affected in one way or the other by HIV and AIDS, despite your stigmatization yenye ilikuwa kwa society as a whole? Because for most people, afadhali ujifiche ubaki na afya yako as opposed to kujipeleka huko then watu wajue in an effort to get help.
Yeah, one thing that I thank God for is that people were there. People were desperate. They were looking for ways. They were looking for somebody to just embrace them. Somebody to just love them, tell them it's okay, let's move. This is the way to move. And when I met them, I met a number of people. Anne was among the very, very first ones.
Yes.
And much of it, the struggle was to convince them it is okay. There is treatment. And when the first group, ilianza, wakaenda hospitali, wakapata madawa, and they started getting better. That encouraged a number. Everybody was like, oh, so I can wake up. So nitapona. So sikufi. And our approach also was something. My approach was, nimekuja, mimi ni rafiki yenyu. I just want to know, what are the issues? Tunaweza saidiana aje. And that helped a lot. Sikuenda like, mko kitanda tuende hospitali, hapana. Munataka tufanye aje.
Usaidizi aina gani?
Usaidizi. And there was nothing. Actually tulianza kanyumba kadogo sana kama bati. Very small. And now we were doing kupika. Kujeni, let's talk. Kujeni tu tujadiliane tujue. Tunapika lunch, tunashinda bale, tunajadiliana. So the approach, I made a lot of friends with the women. Wakakuwa marafiki. So some of them were not coming. They were just coming. Tutakula lunch na tuongee kidogo. Then in the process, I was able to go counseling. I was able to show them, hapa ndio madawa ziko, and ukienda utapata madawa. And funny enough, it just worked. And
it started working out.
It started working
so
out.
It was a call-out message for them to come to you.
Yes.
Because there also the question of trying to identify some of these households that have been affected. All right. Now, in most situations, it was the ladies that were coming as opposed to the men? Or you had specifically from the beginning decided to target just the women?
Well, one, it just came by design. Because our slums, most, like 90% of the household are women-led. So most of the people you will meet will be women. And again, the other thing, I think there is a lot of stigma among men. Wanaume hataki kuonekana vulnerable. Most of the men do not. The African men hataki kuwa vulnerable. Hataki kuenda pale aonekane they are sick or something like that. So the women being the majority households, that helped. That brought the women more. And most of the children I had met also had their single moms.
Okay.
So that was it. And later I realized it's much easier because my approach was to reach out to the children to use the mothers, because most of the fathers I met, they were not directly responsible over the children.
And the family?
So by design, eventually I decided that the program be for women.
Okay.
But then now, as the program stayed on, and the children that had born with HIV started growing up and becoming grown-up men, that is how now we started getting men.
More and more.
Yes, more and more men from our children now.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, let me come back to you, Hannah. You know, ukiangalia wakati, before hata uget kujua mambo kuhusu Living Positive Kenya, changamoto moja umesema ambayo ulikuwa unapitia was majorly your health. Uko unaweza kufanya hata kazi, ulikuwa bedridden. Ni changamoto zipi zingine ambazo ulikuwa unaona zimekulemea sana hiyo wakati, and especially being a person living with HIV and AIDS?
Changamoto zile zilikuwa zinanitatiza hiyo wakati ni kwa sababu sasa vile bwana yangu aliaga akiwa kwa nyumba na watu wakaja from the community. Sasa wakaanza kusema huyu ameua bwana yake na virusi. Sasa stigma ikaanza hapo. Sasa kila mtu anaondoka, sasa sikuwa na mtu hata wa kuongea na yeye. Sasa vile nilipata Living Positive Kenya, nikaona nimepata marafiki na nimepata mtu wa kushare na yeye.
Okay. Na before upatane na Living Positive, ulikuwa umeanza matibabu in any way ama ulikuwa tu bado haujaweza kufika hiyo mahali ambapo unaweza pata matibabu?
Nilikuwa nimeanza matibabu, alafu sasa nikaona stigma imekuwa kali sana, nikawachana na hiyo matibabu. Sasa Living Positive nikiwajua nilikuwa already nimekataa dawa.
Ndio after some time ukarudi tena kukunywa madawa.
Na saa hiyo vile nilikataa dawa nilikuwa chini sana, hata singeweza kufikisha kilo 50.
Wow.
Sasa ndio wakanirudisha kwa madawa.
Na clearly kulikuwa na ulihitaji mtu wa kuongelesha hiyo wakati ndio aweze kukuelewa, ajue mali uko. Ilisaidia kukutoka hiyo mahali ambapo ulikuwa, ambapo hautaki madawa, una feel stigmatized to a point where hata haukuli, hauna afya mzuri, mental health conversations. Ulipata mtu wa kuongelesha ili uweze kurudi mahali ambapo ungekubali kunywa madawa from Living Positive Kenya?
Nilipata watu wa kuniongelesha na nikapata wamama wengine, nikajua si mimi peke yangu. Although hawa mama walikuwa wanaogopa sana kwa sababu sasa mtu mwenye ametangazwa kila pahali wakionekana na yeye. Hata vile nilianza kufanya kazi yangu ya community health work, kuna wakati tulikuwa tunatoka na mgonjwa kwa nyumba analihepa, especially kama ni mgonjwa anaweza kutembea kwa vile anaonekana, akionekana na mimi watu watasema ni mgonjwa.
Na kuhusu familia yako extended, relations zilikuwa vipi, and especially ukiangalia situation venye ilikuwa, mzee ameaga, umebaki peke yako, how was the rest of the family? Because many a times tunasikianga familia zingine wanatoroka, wengine wanabaki kukusaidia. Yako situation ilikuwa vipi?
Familia yangu walishtuka kabisa kwa sababu hata walikuwa wanataka niende nyumbani nikakae nyumbani, lakini nikawaambia mimi nitakaa tu hapa kwa vile nimepata marafiki. Na walishtuka kabisa kwa sababu mimi mwenyewe ndio nilidisclose kwao. Lakini nilikuwa nadhania walisikia watu wakisema.
Wako wamejua bado. All right. Now let me come back to you, Mary. You know, the family plays such a very important role kusaidia mtu ambaye ameaffectiwa na HIV and AIDS in any way, in one way or the other. They can either make or break. When you are working with the ladies that you work with and their families, how do you even talk to the families that they have immediate and both extended that are willing to be part of this journey to help these ladies be able to continue moving on, and especially looking at conversations about mental health?
The approach for me was forgiveness. When we started the program, a lot had happened. People had been hurt by their friends, by their families. People had been abandoned. But I felt if people have to heal, they have to start from a point of forgiveness. So my message was, wacha kwanza tusamehe watu. Let's forgive people. Then we move from there. We take care of ourselves. We look at why did people judge us? Kwa nini watu walitujudge?
Yes.
Kwa nini people felt that we do not deserve? to be relatives.
Yes.
Then tuwasamehe, then we'll be able to reach out to them. So that is where we started. We have a whole 6 months of we call it psychosocial healing. And in psychosocial healing, all we talk about are issues of taking care of ourselves, our mentors, including forgiving people.
Okay.
And in the next, which is empowerment,
Yes.
after the 6 months, you get another 6, which is empowerment. In empowerment, it involves us going to the people that we have forgiven. Be it be husbands when waliwacha wa mama na watoto. Be it be relatives that kicked you out. Be it be neighbors that have talked ill about you. Going back to them. And you're going back to them in a point where you are empowered. You have accepted yourself, because a lot of times it comes from also self-stigma. I have not forgiven myself. So hata vile utaniangalia, utasema tu amesema niko na virusi.
You already judge yourself.
You have already judged yourself. So by the time you're going to people, you have already accepted yourself, you have no issues, so you are able to discuss and to reach out. And a number of people have reunited with their families. Families love their people because you're empowered, your children are going to school, you have your own businesses, because again, the message that came through is people are going to die. Na watu watatuachia watoto. Na watoto watakuwa dependents. So you're being kicked out so that ukikufa watoto wako wasikuja kutusumbua. So naona. So when you're coming back and you look empowered, you look like anybody else. You're taking care of your children. Your children are in school. You have your business. I mean, people it's easier for people to accept you and to look at you as one of them. And it has worked. A lot of people now are back to their families. In fact, nimeona wazee wenye walitoroka wakianza kurudi pole pole.
Wanajirudisha wenyewe.
So yeah, now it's even the issue now is how to manage it, how to manage the situation where the husband wants to come back. Well, ulijempower, umekunywa madawa, wewe ni mrembo. He did. So there is now that discussion. How do we accept them? How do we help them to get empowered so that because ni baba ya watoto arudi
reintegration,
and they integrate. So that is the issue.
Okay.
Yes.
Now I'd like to talk about the aspect of children, because as you mentioned, most of these households are women-led, and it's in the slum area. And for most of them, you might find education and literacy might be a problem. Now, once you have gotten these ladies, you have empowered them, you have gotten them to understand why they need to take medicine, now comes in the children who they care for. Those who are born already exposed to HIV and AIDS, how do you help these ladies talk to the children and help them understand their health and how they can be able to grow up in a healthy way, but understanding what their health has?
Yeah, we have a program called Prevention with Positives. And that means the women that have gone through the program, like Anne is in charge of that program.
Yes.
They come to the ladies and they're teaching them about disclosure. Why is it important for my children to know? So that saa ile wakiniona kwa TV, awendi wakisema, oh, mama me to disappoint, they already know, they're already empowered to take care of that. So Anne does train the women on how to disclose, one to our relatives, and also to our children, and then to the community, so that when people know and they know you're not scared about the issue, then it becomes much easier.
Absolutely.
Disclosure becomes a lot easier. So that's what Anne does.
So, and we are going to be talking more a bit about that. But first, let's take a very quick break. We'll be back to pick up with this conversation all about empowerment and the power of knowledge and awareness, and just to understand how far it can take us when it comes to living positive here in Kenya. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Tuingie huko.
Bwana Motiso, pikipiki yako ndio hii. Uko shwani yangu. Hii pikipiki ni Unakumbuka uliekelea the lowest unique bid yako ilikuwa ngapi? 18 shillings. Na unajua kuendesha hii gari? Kidogo. Haya, kitoko yako shika helmet, kifungu yako chomoka na mali yako.
Kujiunga na QuickBid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bid yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bid yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bid ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio ununua. QuickBid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
Next on
Ndo unaambie kama mimi ndo nyumba kubwa, huyo mwingine nyumba ndogo, ama nyumba ndogo na mimi nyumba kubwa.
Wangu jamani, mimi sina nyumba ndogo. Wala banda la uani sina. Wajibikaji. Wajibikaji kitu gani? Kwa hivyo ni mbebe mgongoni.
Tosha, si kwa mjadalani hapa. Talaka unatoa utoi?
Talaka stoi?
Nakuuliza tena, talaka unatoa utoi?
My name is George Mwangi. I'm one of the two deputies to Mr. Guvi, our clerk of course. I'm in charge of the Kasarani Super Special Stage. Kasarani Super Special Stage is a 4.8 kilometer stage, a stage where we'll have two cars going head to head. It is the only stage that you see two cars going head to head. For all our fans, we invite you to Kasarani. Do not miss to be here on the 24th. 14:08 is the kick-off time. Be here.
Welcome back. Glad you are still with us, thoroughly enjoying the conversation. Thank you so much for your feedback thus far. We do appreciate them. I will be reading a few as we proceed on with the discussion, so keep talking to us. The hashtag is Good Morning Kenya, still remains to be so. At KBC Channel 1 is also our official station handle. My handle is at Jane Womboy. So any questions, comments, or clarifications that you need in regards to this conversation, we absolutely welcome them. In studio, I am speaking with Miriam Modhoni Wanderi, who is the project coordinator at Living Positive Kenya, as well as Hannah Wambui, who is a community health worker working with Living Positive Kenya. This is a conversation all about HIV and AIDS awareness here in our country and the empowerment that needs to be redirected more into this particular conversation. Now, to just pick up from where we left off, let me come to you, Hannah. You know, after you went through training and you became a community health worker, ukiwa kwa field, unaongea na familia na the other ladies out there, ni changamoto zipi unaona wanapitia, and especially when it comes to information ambao wako nayo kuhusu afya yao ambao wanafaa kwa wakijua lakini hawajui?
Okay, mambo yenye wanafaa kujua na hawajui ni kuwa mtu anaweza akakuwa HIV positive na anaweza akaishi miaka mingi provided ujikubali na ukubali maisha itasonga mbele. Kwa sababu si atikuwa HIV positive hati watoto hawatakuitisha. Watakuitisha tu kwa vile wewe ni mama nyumbani.
Na wanajua kuitisha watoto.
Kwa hiyo lazima ukue na nguvu, ukue strong kwa sababu ya watoto wako.
So hiyo ndio changamoto ambao mna wengi wanapitia, ni wanajua ukipata HIV ni mwisho wa maisha.
Wanaona kifo.
Na ukianza kuwaongelesha kuhusu kujikubali, wengi wao umepata wanakubali at the end of it all, ama kuna wale ambao wamekataa kujikubali kabisa, wanakataa hadi madawa?
Wanatakiwa wajikubali kwa sababu sasa tukiangalia watu wengi wako na kansa na kansa ni bei kali sana kutibu, na HIV serikali yetu imefanya kazi ngumu sana ambao ni ya kutupea madawa, kwa sababu miaka hizo ni mingi sana yenye nimekaa na HIV ni 20 years na sijui kama ningeweza kulipa hizo pesa zote za kununua dawa kila wakati. Kwa hivyo wachukue hiyo nafasi vizuri, wakunywe dawa zao na wawache kucheza na dawa, kwa sababu kuna mwenye ametoa hizo pesa na hawezi kufurahi zikichezewa.
Yes. Madawa ni muhimu once you have been able to know that you are exposed. Na kwa wale ambao ukiwaangalia unaweza jua kwamba maybe anaweza kuwa exposed lakini hajakubali kwenda kupimwa juu of course anaamini nikijulikana niko nayo ni kifo ama watu watanikataa. Ungependa kuambia nini leo ambao wanaogopa hata kupimwa?
Ningependa kuambia waende wapimwe kwa sababu kama haujapimwa hauwezi kujua kama uko positive. Nao virusi kama ziliingia kwa mwili, hata upimwe ama usipimwe zinaendelea kushambulia kinga yako. Kwa hivyo ni vizuri upimwe, ukunywe madawa mapema ili uishi miaka mingi kama mimi.
Ebu waambie. Now coming back to you Mary, looking at the past year or so, COVID-19 imeaffect mambo kabisa. Na maybe ningependa utueleze vile COVID imeaffect program yenu in terms of the progress mlikuwa mmemake, projects ambazo zilihave kusimamishwa due to COVID-19. Unajua watu wafai kugather huge numbers, social distancing, makazi zimepotea. Ni changamoto zipi ambazo mmepitia as a result of COVID-19?
Wakati huu wa COVID kumekuwa na shida mingi sana, especially kwetu. One, because ours tuko skills based na tunapata nguvu yetu kwa kuwa pamoja kama kikundi, kukuja pamoja kujadiliana hizi changamoto. Na watu wenye tunafanya kazi na wao literacy level as you said iko chini kidogo, so ukisema waingie kwa mtandao wengi nawana resources, it is very hard. So lazima tungefunga, na how to reach out to people kama tumefunga kazi was very very tricky, especially the last year. Hatukujua kama ukienda tu kumtembelea mtu utamweka kwa hatari ama yeye atakuweka kwa hatari, so hatukujua kama tutembee na ama tusitembee. Huku ni slums, kwenye maji ya mfereji haiko pale, na tunaambiwa tuoge mkono kila mahali. So unafikiria huyu mama mwenye hata kupata ile 20 anunue kajerican kama maji alete kwa nyumba ilikuwa shida. Ataweka aje kwake na watoto ndio waoge mkono? Watoto wamekuja nyumbani, chakula hakuna. Hawa mama wengi watoto wetu wako boarding schools. So mama anapata hiyo release watoto wakiwa in school na akona muda wa kufocus on business kitambo watoto wakuje. So watoto wako nyumbani and mama has to feed them every day. Biashara iko. So ilikuwa changamoto sana. It's getting better. It is getting better kwa sababu sasa at least information imetoka pale na tumejua kidogo kidogo tukispace wamama waoge mkono wanaweza kuja wasome. Vile tulifanya tu, we had to reschedule. Ile ilikuwa tunaweka hall kubwa ya skills na machine, lazima tuweke watu wachache which in terms of resources and management kwetu ilikuwa ngumu, but we are trying. We have put those small spaces in place. Vikundi lazima kama ni za biashara sasa zikutane wadogo wachache. So zile namba tungefikia last year haraka sio namba tunaweza fikia sasa, but tunashukuru Mungu kwa sababu pia kuna watu walijitokeza wakakuja na njia zingine. Kama sasa tuko na mradi umepeanwa pesa na KCDF, Kenya Community Development Foundation, na ni kuweka kuku. So zile kuku si lazima wamama wakuje pale kila siku. Wamepeana 450 chicken pieces zenye tunachunga pamoja. When it's done, wamama wanakuja in small groups to learn how to do it, na zikifanywa zitagawiwa kila mtu zake ndogo ndogo. So that way we are able to reach out kwa wamama wakiwa kwa boma zao. And then pesa za group sasa wamekubali hizi groups za wamama zisplitiwe na waregister group ndogo ndogo. So instead of when we had moja, sasa ni 6. So wanakutana wamama wachache kwa space yenye wanaweza pata, na wanafanya sasa biashara zao, wanaweza fanya zile microfinance. So kuna zile opportunities zimekuja, we would say the opportunities kama hiyo ya kuku, but pia kuna zile changamoto zimekuja. And we are trying, tunajaribu kidogo kidogo vile we have to live with it.
Yes, to adjust to the times.
We have to adjust and try to move forward. Ideally ni kusaidiana, we move forward. Hatuta stall maisha.
Let me come to you, Hannah. You know, as a community health worker and as a person person who has been affected in one way or the other, ni usaidizi ya aina ipi you feel itasaidia sana wanawake ambao una target, umeelewa zile shida ambazo wamepitia na wanahitaji usaidizi ya aina fulani ndio waweze kusonga mbele kimaisha, kifedha, waweze kujitegemea?
Sisi vile tungeomba saa hii, tuseme vile tulikuwa bedridden, tulikuwa tunategemea handouts, lakini saa hii hatutegemei handouts, tunategemea pesa ya biashara, tufanye biashara ili tupate pesa yetu. Tunaona tunaweza kuwa watajiri, tuwe tumefanya biashara zetu, tumefungua mabiashara kubwa. Sasa ndio watu wenye walikuwa wanatuona huko tukiwa bedridden waone pia kuna kitu tunaweza hata sisi tukajifanyia.
So hamuhitaji handouts, mnahitaji tu kusaidiwa ku set up biashara ambazo zenye you feel unaweza kujisustain kimwenyewe. Awesome. Now tukimalizia hii conversation, Mary, maybe you could take just this time to speak to even our community leaders who and our and especially the county government who are meant to be in touch with the people at the ground level. What would be your message to them, and especially when it comes to supporting community-based organizations and especially women who are disproportionately affected by HIV and AIDS?
Ningeambia serikali zetu, it is time to realize they've done a good job in ARVs, but that is not the end.
Yes.
Kama watu, unajua watu walienda chini, people lost their jobs because of illnesses, wakakaa bedridden sana, so they don't have businesses. So ukiwapea madawa na hakuna support kutoka hapo, then people will still come down again. Kwa sababu pia kuna stress, uko na watoto lazima ulishe. If they can be supported to move forward, if our government can partner even with the small organizations that are on the ground to support the communities be sustainable, to support economically, to help people start businesses. Those that are doing businesses, can markets be available? Kama kwetu kuna wamama wanashona vitu maridadi, blankets, very nice. Ideally zetu zilikuwa tunatuma nje. So with COVID hatufanyi hivyo, but those products are there. Can they be supported to get even the local market? Can they get local market where they can sell these products? Access within ourselves. So there is a number of ways that the county governments can partner with people, can partner with organizations that are there and help people more. But they need to be taken beyond ARVs.
All right.
Yes.
Now, for those who might be wanting to communicate with you, mnapatikana katika mtandao ama wangependa how can people reach out to your organization very briefly?
Yeah, Living Positive is on Twitter. We are on Instagram, and we also have a Facebook page,
which is
Living Positive Kenya. Is our Facebook page.
All right. So if you are interested in helping in one way or the other, you can be able to reach out to them and get to know what forms of assistance they need so that they can be able to help in a constructive way. We have been speaking with Mary Modhoni Wanderi, who is the project coordinator at Living Positive Kenya, as well as Hannah Wamboi, who is a community health worker still working with Living Positive Kenya. Thank you very much, ladies, for being with us today and sharing with us your journey.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you.
All right.
Nice being here.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Now we have more lined up for you, so do stay with us. We take a very quick breather as we gear up for the next discussion.
Kwangu mimi mtazamaji, kinywaji changu nambari 1 ni kinywaji cha chai. Kwako wewe ni kipi ambacho ni nambari 1?
Next on.
Tumemsua watu watatu. Asidhani kazi stem atatoboa. Guy. That's all you can say.
Jazz anajua.
Jazz will be jazzed about it. See what I did there?
Let her through.
Unajua masida yetu ilianza ili wakati huyu mwanamke alikujaga kwa maisha yetu. Mambo yetu sasa ikaanza kwenda kukurukakara. Mnaweza tuhitaji?
Sana.
Tiffany, I need to reach Chris.
What will happen to Glenn and Eric?
Well, that's my business.
Good. As Chris is mine.
Nancy, you know you're the mother of chaos. We are here because of you.
No. We are here because of your identity crisis.
Si dwe. Mimi Nancy haujai nikulisa wala kukulisa watoto wangu wala kuwasomesha.
Are you sure?
The greatest rally in the world is back in Kenya. Catch all the action of WRC Safari Rally live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1 from 24th to 27th June. See the world's best drivers navigate their machines on Kenya's rough terrain at breakneck speeds. Experience the thrills, adrenaline, drama and excitement as man and machine do battle. Don't miss out. WRC Safari Rally, live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
We're back. Take as we get to bring to you these fantastic conversations that we had lined up for you, and now we are on to our last conversation for the day, and this is all about the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substance Amendment Bill. Now, this is something that has elicited such reactions, and especially from the larger part of the community, and more so looking at the legal minds, just trying to understand the consequences of this amendment bill before it is assented by the president. We want to help you understand what these changes will mean for those who are affected in one way or the other with the use of narcotic drugs. With me in studio to help with this conversation, I have two guests with me. I'll start with the lady. She is the other lady with me on set. To my extreme left, she is Joanne Wanjiru, who is an advocate of the High Court. Good morning, Joanne. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Karibu sana. And we also have Dixon Malebe, who is a community paralegal. Karibu sana, Dixon.
Thank you.
Thank you for making time to be with us today. We want to learn better. We say knowledge is power, and we are here to fill that gap. So let me start with you, Joanne. You know, let's just take a step back. Put the amendment bill aside. For the benefit of our viewers, and in terms as simple as could possibly be, what does the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substance Act say?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. I'll try and make it as relatable as
Absolutely.
possible.
That is what we are here for.
Yes. So in Kenya,
yes,
the law that regulates issues to do with drugs in terms of drug control, control of supply of drugs,
yes,
control of demand of drugs, is the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Control Act. It's an act of 1994, and within that act you'll see issues of planting of drugs, you'll see issues of trafficking of drugs, issues of possession of drugs. So ideally it is the national law that governs drug-related activities in Kenya.
All right. Now let me come to you, Dixon. When you look at the levels of awareness among the people when it comes to such an act, do you feel as a population we are well aware what the law says about narcotic drugs, and especially those found in possession of minimal amounts?
Well, thank you for that. Unfortunately, not so, because there's been a lot of issues of like stigma surrounding issues of drugs, possession, trafficking. There's a big distinction between the various players in the whole space.
Yeah.
But now, because of that, people don't seem to understand the repercussions or the effects of this bill, if it were to go through, on the community as per se, because it actually will affect everybody, not just the drug partakers.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, same question comes to you, Joanne. When you look at literacy levels about what is enshrined within the Constitution, and especially when it comes to narcotics and drugs, because we do know drug abuse is a burden in our country, and especially among the youth who are sadly heavily affected. Awareness levels among the people, how are we faring? Where would you gauge the population?
I would say we are not doing well
in
terms of awareness of what the law says and the implications of the same. Even in enforcement of these laws, we are not doing well, because you'll see, if you talk to an officer whose work is to enforce the law, and they find someone with maybe just a small
in
portion
possession,
of drugs that is for their personal use, they will have a hard time in terms of what are we supposed to charge this person with? What is the procedure that's supposed to be followed when you, from the point of arrest to the point of prosecution until the end? How are we supposed to handle evidence? And even for the general public and for the users themselves, a lot of people don't know exactly what the law says about drug use. Someone will, there was a case I think recently, some years back, of a woman who was found with very, like 3, 4, 5 rolls of bang. Ile beshte yako amekutuma amekwambia niende pale kwa nani, and she was arrested for the same. And when she was arrested, she told the officers, hii si yangu, ninapelekea jail.
So and so,
So you see, in the law, that is defined as trafficking.
Because you're found in possession
yes,
of...
not even that, because trafficking is you're moving it from point A to point B. So by you saying it is not mine, I was taking to Nani, then the law calls you a trafficker. And the punishment for trafficking in the current law is you pay a fine of about 1 million shillings. And on top of that, you get imprisonment for life. And all you did was say, it's not mine, it's Nani's. And the prosecution is well within its right, because the law says if you're moving from point A to point B with a substance, that is trafficking.
Okay.
So there's very minimal awareness on what the law says and the implications of the same.
Now, looking at the law as is, before we get to now the amendment bill, from where you stand, do you think even the penalties that have been enshrined therein, generally speaking, are fair, looking at the different anybody who has a role to play, looking at the traffickers, those who are found in possession, and even the users? Do you feel like the consequences that are there and penalties are a bit too harsh, or relatively something that is deserving of the sin, quote unquote, using the word sin?
Yeah, good question. But in my view, definitely not, because when you talk of like possession for the minimum quantities for somebody who's using, and the law gives the same punishment in the sense that it's incarceration, is having them imprisoned. And from past experiences, we've seen that doesn't work. Actually, what works is more of maybe rehabilitative interventions, medical interventions, because like problematic drug users, these are people who are consuming the minimal quantities you're talking about.
Yes.
These are people who are probably struggling with issues of wanting to actually stop the habit.
Yes.
So when you incarcerate that person, they'll go in for 6 months, for a year, but when they come out, they find themselves still trapped in the same vicious cycle. So it's the law as it is does not like cater for different players, because a trafficker is considered the same as a peddler, who is considered the same as a problematic drug user.
Yes.
And the punishment is the same across the board. So when you look at it, it's actually not fair, because you can be jailed for a long period of time for just a minimal quantity, which medically you're supposed to use it for your body to function like any other.
Yeah.
So the intervention would be better if it was more on the side of rehabilitation, I mean, in the sense of medical interventions, the medical programs that are run by the government as it is, that actually assist one better.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, let me come to you, Joanne. Looking at the proponents of this particular amendment bill, Mr. Koinange, one of the arguments that he presented was that this Act of 1994 has various weaknesses, and I'm quoting, that the Narcotics and Psychotropics Act of 1994 has various weaknesses that have necessitated the amendments. The penalties do not match the devastating effects the substances have on the health of the community. Do you think this is a valid argument?
Well, I'd answer that in this way. There is immense and enormous global evidence that punitive approaches are not working.
Yes.
Punishment is not working. Punishing the user does not automatically reduce demand for drug use. And I'll give a practical example of a country like Portugal. Portugal decriminalized drug use in their country. So what they do for users is, if you're arrested with a quantity that is for personal use, you're redirected from the criminal justice system towards a commission that has a doctor, that has a lawyer, that has a social worker. So they sit with you and they find out, is your drug use problematic? And if it is, these are the treatment programs that are available. These are the rehabilitative programs that are available, and you're given an option to choose from those that are tabled for you after they decide from their consensus that yours is a problematic drug use. And since they began doing that, you will read in terms of facts, drug use has gone down immensely in Portugal. Incarceration has gone down. HIV levels have gone down. So there is global evidence that punishment is not working. And if you read the genesis of the amendment bill, when the MP for Nyali brought it up in 2019, was to increase the punishment for the traffickers. And as I'm part of an initiative called the Caucus on Harm Reduction and Drug Policy Reform. And as part of what the caucus is saying is, we don't disagree that there is a need to deal with the supply aspect of drugs. And if you want to deal with the traffickers, that is fine. But you also have to be alive to the fact that this very law is very disproportionately affecting the user. How often have we seen people have been arrested with 2 rolls of bang? Very recently, I saw Citizen reported an NIS officer arrested with 120 shillings worth of banging. Is that really how we want to use our public resources? When there are health interventions that have been put in place where someone can be diverted. So what we're saying is, now that the amendment is going on, use this opportunity to do what works, to do what has been proven to work, which is stop treating drug use as a criminal issue and treat it as a public health issue.
Okay.
Now that you're amending the act, don't say if you're arrested for possession for personal use, you will be incarcerated for 5 years. No, divert that person to treatment programs that are already available. You cannot avail services and then the laws are impeding people from accessing the services that are available.
Now, I like what you have brought up, the aspect of categorizing to each their own, depending on what category they have been found to be in. And that is actually one of the things that has been said to be the good, because we're here to fairly look at this particular amendment. That is something that has been said to be one of the good that is in this amendment bill, such that they have categorized different people when it comes to this amendment bill. There are the drug barons, the wholesalers, and the users, because previously it wasn't so. It was one blanket covering all. Do you feel this will actually be, or rather is the first step towards a more progressive way of addressing narcotic drug use here in our country? Let me start with you, Dixon.
Yes, I agree that there's the categories you speak about, but in the sense of the punishment that the different categories are receiving is still not like the categories. It's still a blanket in that the drug user, the problematic drug user, it's still not by law that he's supposed to get medical intervention or rehabilitative. The law still says that he should be incarcerated and to pay the hefty fine, which is probably exorbitant considering the amount that he's been arrested with in the first place. So it becomes, because when you look at it, it's actually supposed to be a corrective measure. The prisons are supposed to be corrective facilities. So if we're trying to right the wrong, then the law should also like categorize the different punishments to the different groups, in my view, yes.
Okay, and let me just come to you, Joanne. You know, looking at these consequences, you know, both financially and in terms of incarceration, if we're honestly speaking, do you feel a combination of all these penalties that are involved, you know, it could be financial, it could be incarceration, and also treatment if it is involved in this particular value chain, put together is the way forward that is required to have a more effective and sustainable way of doing things, as opposed to just having fines or doing prison time and then you're let go figure out your life after that?
Okay, so what we're saying ideally is how the law is going to be, how the proposed amendments have been phrased, especially in terms of now the user in possession for personal use. We recognize and we applaud the MPs for actually even putting grammage to say if you're found with 1 gram or less, then you will be charged for possession for personal use and you will be imprisoned for a term of not less than 5 years.
Yes.
However, they have now taken up the fine you'll be asked to pay 5 million.
Yeah.
So if I'm buying something worth 120 shillings, there's no way I'm going to pay a fine of 5 million. So that almost automatically still guarantees mass incarceration.
Yeah.
And what we're saying is the efforts and the resources that are being put in place to arrest, to prosecute users, those are resources that can actually be diverted to the health sector, to strengthen the treatment programs, to strengthen the rehabilitative programs, so that there's an alternative to incarceration for users. You decongest your prisons, your manpower is better used to capture those traffickers that you're targeting. So the proposals that are being made, we recognize the efforts that have been made and we commend them and we applaud them because they have actually started a timely discussion on the need to reform laws.
Yes.
But we're also saying the reforms we are proposing are beneficial across board.
Okay.
They're not just beneficial for the user, because if you look at public resources that are being used in prisons, in arrests, in the judicial process, all those can be diverted to the health sector, not just for the user, but for the general public as well.
You know, I like the fact that you brought up the whole question about the prison system, especially as it is, our prisons are already overcrowded. And you find for most of those people who go to prison is because they do not have the purchasing power to pay some of these fines. And consequently, they resort to doing time. And looking at those who are the larger category of those who are found to be having problematic use, they do not have the financial capacity to pay for these fines. Now, legally speaking, do you feel there ought to be a whole shift when it comes to even how some of these offenses are categorized to avoid such? Because for one, there is the financial implication that is tied to all these crimes that are committed. It is a crime nonetheless. There is a financial burden that is tied to it. But if it is categorized under a whole different category, maybe let's, for the purposes of this conversation, call it a petty crime that does not require one to go through the entire prosecution up until incarceration, and it be handled at a level that does not end up to prison. Do you feel that is something that is practical to start with?
Yes, I do. I think it's practical and possible, dare I say, possible. Because now that the law is actually being amended, this is the time to put in those provisions. This is the time to actually distinguish, because as the law is now, there is no distinction between a person in possession for personal use and a trafficker.
Yeah.
They're treated almost the same. Not almost, they're actually treated the same. So if you put in an actual definition to say a person to be charged with possession for personal use must meet 1, 2, 3, 4 criteria. A person to be charged with trafficking must meet 1, 2, 3, 4 criteria. Then you have it in the law also to say if you are found to be in possession for personal use, you are diverted. You make it mandatory for the judicial officer to divert this person from the criminal justice system into the already available treatment programs or into voluntary rehabilitation. Then it will deal with all these issues of incarceration. It will deal with the issues of overcrowding. It will deal with the issues of access. because Kenya has done a fairly good job in terms of availing these interventions, the harm reduction interventions. We have methadone programs, we have needle and syringe exchange programs, we have HIV testing and counseling.
Yes.
So the treatment programs are there, but the way the law is now, it is impeding access to the same by the users, because if I am arrested with a portion that's for my own personal use, I will not be treated as a problematic drug user, I'll be treated as a criminal.
Okay.
So I'll go through the criminal process, which then leads to incarceration, as opposed to immediately you have identified me to be a person with problematic drug use, you divert me away from that system and towards the treatment program.
Okay.
I'd say it's the same thing as HIV testing and counseling. Testing is not mandatory, but it's advisable. When you go to a hospital, the reason you're given pre-counseling is so that you understand why it is that you need to get tested. It's the same thing as a user. A lot of people will say, what if we divert them and they don't want? There are a lot of mechanisms involved in harm reduction. It's not just the treatment. There's counseling. You get to explain to someone, why is it that you need 1, 2, 3, 4 things?
The importance,
Yes, and then from that understanding, they themselves get to choose which they prefer, and that personal responsibility also gives them the motivation to go through the entire program and finish.
All right. Now, let me come to you, Dixon. Looking at this amendment, do you feel there was enough public participation done to make sure that the public understands what these changes that are being proposed would mean and consequently be applied without question because they agreed to it?
Well, unfortunately not, because the public participation that took place actually absent were key stakeholders. For instance, organizations that have been the forefront of dealing with issues related to drug use. I'm talking about people like NASCOP, the NACADA, National AIDS Council, civil societies. Key stakeholders were actually not part of the public participation. So that's why you're seeing, I think, the discrepancy coming in, because a lot of input that will have come from even the actual community itself have not been brought forward to this law. So you see a lot of things that are actually missing from it in that sense. And earlier on you spoke about petty offenses. It reminds me something that according to the Criminal Justice Conference, 7 out of 10 inmates are actually petty offenders.
Imagine that.
Yeah. So, and these are people who serving misdemeanors. So these are crimes that are serving sentences of less than 6 months.
Negligible.
Yeah. So even when she's speaking of resources, what is being put in the prisons, even to maintain the big number, and a lot of that number will actually be not there if alternative means of
corrective measures, quote unquote,
yes, so
in place.
If they're in place. So I think that's a big discrepancy in the whole law, because you find a lot of people getting into the prisons. Another thing she's also mentioned is that these interventions they're already there, they're in place from the government. The government has also put in resources, like for instance the part of the harm reduction is the medically assisted therapy, whereby the government is offering methadone, which is really expensive, as in an average Kenyan cannot pay for methadone treatment, but this is being offered free by the government in 2 centers in Nairobi now, at the coast, another 2 in Kisumu likewise, and it's all for free. There's counseling services, professional counseling services. To hire a professional counselor for now, you're going to pay not less than 1,000, but these services are already there. It's not like it's something that the government needs to start all over again. So now if this law comes into place, then even this facility is not really going to be of much value then, because you'll be arresting the user, and instead of the user going to the facilities that have already costed this amount of money to set up, end up in prison.
They remain to be empty shells.
So so it becomes like recycling a wheel. It's like we're just going round and round and round and not coming up with a concrete solution of how to end the menace. So as much as we appreciate that there needs some intervention, the drug menace is also great. It's large, it's increasing. So we need some corrective measures on ways of truly stopping this menace.
Okay.
But at the same time, we need to consider the fact that the problematic drug user is not like the cause of the problem. The problem actually is the epicenter is somewhere else.
Okay.
So
with the barons as
Yes.
have been captured in this particular bill. Now, as we close this conversation, I'm told we are completely out of time. Let me come to you, Joanne. You know, very briefly, when it comes to a proactive approach to this amendment that you feel there are loopholes, gaps that need to be filled in this particular bill, because clearly it wasn't as informed by all the stakeholders, those that are in the value chain. What will be your message to even the president before he gets to ascend this particular bill?
Okay.
Very briefly.
Okay. What I think what I would say on behalf of the caucus would be, don't sign the bill. Just bring it back, table it with all the key stakeholders so that we can bring in the key issues that the caucus is talking about and advocating for. Properly, by properly I mean actually distinguish between possession for personal use
Yes.
and possession with intent to distribute and trafficking. Once that is done, make it mandatory that if you're found in possession for personal use, divert this person from the criminal justice system into the already available treatment programs or into voluntary rehabilitation.
Okay.
It will cost very little, and it will actually save on a lot of public resources for this.
Absolutely. Now, this is a conversation that we can't once again fully exhaust in this one sitting, but of course, until there has been change that has been made, either by the president assenting it or not, that is when until then, we will be having these conversations to just help you better understand what amendments to this bill really mean to us as a population. But for now, we have been speaking with Joanne Wanjiru, who is an advocate of the High Court, as well as Dixon Maleba, who is a community paralegal. Thank you very much, lady and gent, for being with us this morning.
Thank you for this.
And with that, we want to call it a week. Thank you so much for being with us from Monday up until now. We want to wish you a lovely weekend. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing, and be sure to join us again next week for another fantastic week of Good Morning Kenya. My name is Jen Wamboy. Have a lovely day. God bless.
God bless.